Louisiana Beer Reviews 22, Old English 800 malt liquor. Old English 800 was introduced in 1964 by a very small brewery in the Midwest called People's Brewing Company, which was actually the only brewing company owned by a black American. Originally it was called Old English 600. It had this little English man on it, from like a little character from the 17th century, 18th century. Well, the little brewery struggled along, and then I'm imagining that Pabst must have been the company that bought out Old English from them, because in 1999, when Pabst made their blockbuster deal with Miller and Stroh's, what happened was Pabst acquired the entire Stroh's line, but they had to turn over Old English, the Old English line, and Mickey's and the Hamm's line to Miller. And I know it wasn't a Stroh's beer because I have literature from Stroh's from the 90s. So it must have been a People's Brewing Company, then Pabst, and since 1999 a Miller Brewing Company brand. Old English is sold in 3 different alcohol categories, and I'll get to that in a minute. Here's a typical Old English 800 malt liquor can. See the little crown on it? On the Miller Coors website it says Old English wears a crown because it's the crown of the king of malt liquors. It is one of the more popular malt liquor brands. There's a 5.9% Old English, which is very common. There's also a 7.5% Old English, which is sold in certain states. And then there is the Old English 800 High Gravity, HG, which came out in 2001, and it's 8% alcohol. Now the Old English High Gravity won the gold medal in 2004 at the World Beer Cup for American Style Specialty Lager, and it's also won other silver and bronze medals. I've only seen the Old English High Gravity in Beaumont, Texas. It's not sold in Louisiana. I did buy a 40 ounce of that in 2010, and I tried it and I thought it was good. The regular Old English 800, nicknamed 8 Ball, won silver in 2009 and bronze in 2008 for the International Style Pilsner category at the World Beer Cup. So it has done all right in competition. Here's a modern bottle of Old English 800, a clear bottle, which can be a problem because light will spoil the beer and give it a very skunky smell, also in a green bottle. So it's recommended that if beer is put in a bottle, it be put in a brown bottle. I bought some of this stuff earlier, in the spring of 2010, and I opened it and it was skunky. So I don't think they used Miller's patented light sensitive hops, which are able to resist the light and not spoil. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. This says Union Made, which is making me think it's coming out of Milwaukee. Get started with this review. Okay, I see smoke coming out of there. Lots of carbonation in the bottle, as you can see. And that's a good sign when you see the little smoke come out. Okay, another good sign. Not smelling the skunkiness, happily. Give it a pour here at this 18-ounce bottle. The head is not too thick. Now this mug is coming out of the freezer. It's good to drink malt liquor when it's ice cold. As it warms up, it develops kind of a bad taste. Alright, you can see lots of bubbles streaming up the glass. This is a clear yellow golden appearance here. But the carbonation is, I would say, moderate to high, because you're not seeing a thick head. Okay. Now I'm going to give it the smell test. Very neutral smell. There's no skunkiness, thankfully. Possibly water, but I'm not picking up anything. I can't say it's a subtle smell. It's a non-aroma, which is weird. But with malt liquor, that's not necessarily a bad thing. All right, now the most important thing with these Louisiana beer reviews, the taste test. The website describes slight fruitiness, and you do pick that up. When I bought old cans of Old English back in the 90s, some other cans I don't have, they would indicate, I should have kept them, but they indicated it was charcoal filtered. And I don't really understand how that works. The new cans don't say that. I guess Miller doesn't do charcoal filtration. Old English 800 is probably the most beer tasting malt liquor. Of course, you know malt liquor, or you may not know, but malt liquor is a beer. They just call it malt liquor because the U.S. government has strict regulations about calling beer extra strong beer, like they call it in the United Kingdom. So here they had to invent a name in the late 40s when they wanted to come out with extra strong beer. And it's a lager, it's not an ale. So they just invented malt liquor, which is just saying beer. That's all it is. And if it's a Miller product, it's probably made with barley malt, yellow corn grits, hops, yeast, and very filtered water. That's such a smooth taste. You pick up the grains, but you can't tell if it's barley or corn. It's got some hop bitterness at the end, the back end of the taste. I've always found Old English to be a very delicious beer. It has a medium body. The mouthfeel is medium. There's no disgusting cloyiness or chewiness or gummy sweetness to it at all. So Miller has picked up from what Pabst is doing and done a fine job with this malt liquor. It's very common. You see it most everywhere in whatever alcohol variation. Let's see something here. It doesn't say ale. Well, it says malt liquor, so that's right. It could pass the test in Texas. See, if they called it beer in Texas, it would be a no-no. They can call it malt liquor, and that's fine. So the government officials in Texas apparently either don't know or don't care about their own regulations, because they say you can't call beer, you can't have a strong beer, but you can have a strong malt liquor, which is beer. Anyway, enough of that. No smell, except a water smell, which is really hardly any smell. Of the taste, laissez le bon ton roulé. It is a good beer. Beer Advocate gives it a D+. The brothers give it an F. Rate Beer hates it. I gave it a B on Beer Advocate. The Beer in Me, however, gives it a very fine rating, 3 stars. I'm going to stick with the B. For sure, a B, a solid B. This is one of the better malt liquors available. It finishes crisp and refreshing. It's dry on the dry side, but not as dry as many other American beers. It's like semi-dry. But oh yeah, this is really good to drink. I highly recommend Old English. If you've never had a chance to try it, I would recommend going out and getting it. You're doing a good job, Miller. You're doing a real good job. So let the good times roll. It is carnival season here in Louisiana. And I just want to say, let me put this down. Just want to end this review by saying, you all come down to New Orleans.